Dover Agorim Lamoman is Lav Kamaman Dami. That's why we need a pasuk of Lo Yimatze for the Gentiles' chametz. Elman Dama Kamaman Dami. But according to the one that says that, for example, if you cause monetary loss of the chametz and you have to pay somebody back, even though a chametz is not worth anything, but you still have to replace it. So certainly, it's the. Remember, we said that if the Jew has the achrayus to pay the goy back for chametz that he sequesters with him, then of course he is going to be over by Yerah by Yimotze. If he has no achrayus, then he has no sharing. So certainly we would understand according to the one that says Maman Dami, so then we don't need the pasuk of Lo Yimatze. It's strict, we need it. Tzadra min hoyel v'chi is a Hoder be'ene. When the chametz is around, he can return it. And he returns it as it is. And therefore, all along, it was clear that it belonged to the Gentile and not to the Jew. And therefore, I would think Lav Bershut Sekoy would not be in the possession of the Jew. Kamash V'lan that it is, the Torah puts it in your possession to make you over by your by your matzah. And we're going to go into this issue a little bit more deeply. Boy, my name is Rav. Behemoths are nuna chayeves b'b'choira or ein chayeves b'b'choira. There used to be some kind of tax that you'd have to give to the king, that 1/10 of all your animals and of your grain you have to give to the king. So in essence, he's a partner. Now we know if a Gentile is a partner with a Jew in an animal, he's partner from the Bechor. So the fact that you have a chiyuv to pay tax to the king, is that considered that he has a shaykhis in your animals to make you potter from Bechor? Now, if you could pay off the king with money, you didn't have to physically give him the animals. So then he doesn't have a share in the animals. So then the Jewish farmer would certainly be chayiv in Bechor. Where you can't pay off the king with money, you actually have to give him the produce or the cow, mai. So they answered that it is considered a shutfis with the Gentile king, and therefore you'd be potter from Bechor. There's another brisa that says you're chayiv. So of course, chayiv is the matzah masalik way. That was a case where you could pay off the king with money, you didn't have to give him the animals itself. Take it the Amri, Amar Rava, that if you as the farmer have to give a certain percentage of the cattle to the king, so in essence he's a partner with you. So just we know that if you have a Gentile partner, you're potter from Bechor. So paying tax would make you potter from Bechor. Even though you could pay him off with money, you don't have to give him the produce itself. However, Isa Sarnuna, they used to give a certain percentage of the dough that you made also to the king. Even so, chayeves b'chala. You're chayev in chala. Even though you have to give him the dough itself. So why? I mean, l'chura, why shouldn't over there it pater you from chala? My time, huh? Behema islay kola. Everybody knows about animals. Like it was published in the LA Daily Business Journal. So there was a call regarding animals and everyone knew that the Goyish king owned part of it. But Issa, nobody knows what goes on with dough in a person's private home. It doesn't have a call. It doesn't have a call that would be chayiv and chala no matter what. Ton Rabbanon. Nochri shenichnas l'chatzero shel Yisrael u'b'tzeko biyado. A Gentile walks into a courtyard of a Jew on Pesach, and he's got chametz. The din is ein zakuk levar. You don't have to burn that chametz. However, if kidot etzlo, let's say the Gentile deposited the chametz in your house, with the idea that you would watch it, Zakuk levire. So that you'd have to burn. Because in Echanami you have a chrayus in that. So you take ownership of it. However, yichid lo bayis. If the Jew just told the non-Jew, look, here's a corner in my house, you can put your chametz there. But he didn't take a chrayus, so then ein zakuk levire. Then in Echanami he doesn't have to burn it. Shenamar lo yimotze. Lo yimotze, that's a lav. You need a heter. What my kamar? What the Gemara says? How did you end up with an isser here? Amrav Papa, a reisha coin. The lo yimotze is going on the reisha. V'achi kamar. If kido etzlo, if the Gentile deposited the chametz with him because he's going to China and he wants you to watch it, zakuk levire, because you have achrayus shenemar lo yimotze. But the second part, where it's yichid lo bayis in a chanami, you don't have to burn it. Rav Ashi Amar lo ilam ha-seifa coin. No, Rav Ashi says you could learn it the way we learned it on the seifa. V'hachi kamar. And this is how you have to understand the Beraisa. Yichid lo bayis, if the Jew designated a certain area in the house for the Gentile to put his chametz there. In essence, the Jew doesn't have achrayus, so therefore ein zakuk levar. You have no chiyuv to burn it. Shenemar lo yimatze bevatechem v'alav dideyu. This chametz is not his. And the nachri ki kamayla v'esa the nafshi kamayla. When the nachri comes, he's going in a sense to his house. Yichud lo bayis, it's almost like he rented it from the Jew. Freit gemor lemeimer deschirus kanya. Are we going to learn from here that by renting, it's a kinyan gomer and it's considered as if you own it? But not af makom shomer lahaskir. When it gave you permission to rent to a non-Jew, lo lebeis dira. You're not allowed to rent to a Gentile, a place for him to sleep. Why? He'll put his idols there. You can only rent to him like for donkeys or wheat. Now, Isaac gedaitich the seers kanya. So I don't understand. If rental is considered like ownership, so kika ma'ayil, so then if he rents it, it's his own place that he's bringing idols. Why should that be a problem? They say nafshi kamayil. So the Gemara says, "Shani yachad afker achman b'lashon lo yimotze." By chametz, it says by yiro by yimotze. Don't misha motze biyadcha. That's chametz that is found by you. Yotze zeh sheina motze biyadcha. That's by chametz, but by other shari surim like idols, there is a little bit of ownership that goes along that you continue to have. It's not a complete kinyan to the Gentile. Therefore, when he brings idols into the place that he rented from you, it's a problem. So the Shulchan Aruch says, "Gam ba'oisem mekamin sheitili aski be'beis nachri." In those places where it was permitted to rent to a non-Jewish house, lo yitir la'askel machsan, only like a storehouse, a warehouse, or vidir, or like a corral of a low base dira. Or that's only in Eretz Yisrael. Chutz v'tzlo chmir b'dover. In B'dir Shein Yisrael Atzmo Garba. So you're allowed to rent to a non-Jew b'chutz la'aretz, even a base dira. And if a goy comes into your courtyard with chametz on Pesach, you don't have to throw him out, and you don't have to burn it. And also, if you gave him a place in your house to keep the chametz, and you don't have a chachiv to burn it there. Back to the Gemara. Let's say during Pesach you find a piece of chametz in your house. You take a pot and you cover the chametz and you wait until Motzei Yontiv. You can't touch it. It's muktzah all Pesach. After Pesach, you burn it.
Hello.
Or after Yontif, you burn it. Hello?
Harold,
Oh, hi. Where are we? Where are we holding?
We're on Vav Amid Aleph, about
682.
halfway down.
Thanks. Oh, got it. Okay.
So the reason why you burn it at the end of Yontif, because you don't burn it on Yontif, is because you might come to eat it. Because remember, you're not over by your Rabbi Matzah, you were Mavatal it. So Moitzi Chametz says Yontif Koifel Avazakli Amar Rava Im Shel Hegdish Hu. If the chametz belong to Hegdish, ain't it tzarich. You don't have to put the kli over it. My time, huh? Mivdil b'dilimine. People stay away from things that belong to Hegdish, so you don't need the pot. Let's say there's Gentile-owned chametz in your house. You put you erect a wall around it, 10 tfachim, as a hecker, that you won't come to eat it. V'im shel hegdishu, if the chametz in your house belongs to hegdish, ain't tzarich. My time, mivdil b'dili inish minei. People stay away from hegdish, so you're not going to come to eat it. I'm a farish vayotzi b'shayara. Person's going on a boat or in a caravan. Koidim shloishim yom. Prior than 30 days before Pesach. Ein zakuk l'mar. You don't have to burn. You're going to have chametz in your house. You don't have to worry. We'll see. You don't have to burn it. Torch shloishim yom. If you go on a trip within 30 days, you have to burn your chametz. That which he said, if you leave within 30 days and you have to burn it, but that's only if you have a mind to come back on Pesach to your house. If you're in China, you don't have to, there's no chiyuv to burn the chametz. Shulchan Aruch says, Hayotze l'derech koidim Pesach ve'im yishivdok beso im daito lasser samach l'chad chayil l'dok as a chametz avalo yivarech. You don't make a bracha. If it's within 30 days, you do make a bracha. But that's only if you're going to come back, Pesach. Then you have a chiyuv b'dika and beer. But if you left Rosh Hashanah, that if you plan to come back, you have to do it even when you leave Rosh Hashanah. We're machmir, like the Das Rishon, but the Shas Adchak, you can rely on the second svara. If you're not going to be there, it's not a problem. Hada Amit, back to the Gemara. Amr by Hada Amit talk Shoshim Zakul Var Lo Yamarin. El Shaddai to Lachzor. Aval Ein Dr. Lachzor Lebeso Ein Zakul. Amr like Rava. So Rava responded to Abai. V'Dai to Lachzor. Afilu Yatzim Rosh Hashanah Nami. If you plan to come back, even if you let 9 months before, you'd have to burn the chametz. Otherwise, you're going to come back, you'll have chametz in your house. This is how you have to learn. That which you said, if you left prior to 30 days, you don't have to burn. That's Ela Shein Daito Lasser. That's if you know you're not going to come back. Even if you left Rosh Hashanah, you'd have to burn the chametz. But as the Rav Tamei, Rav is consistent. Let's say you turned your house into like a warehouse for grain, and there's chametz buried underneath this grain. So koidim shloishim yom if that ain't zakuk levai. If you converted it prior to 30 days, then you don't have to burn the chametz first. But if it's toch shloishim yom zakuk levai, you'd have to burn it. The koidim shloishim nami lo amaram. That what you say is you don't have to burn it prior to 30 days. If you're not going to clean out the machsan. If you know you're going to clean it out, So you might come in contact with the chametz. You better burn it before you put the machsan in there. Now, where did we get these shloshim yom? What is this 30-day business? Hani shloshim yom mai v'detayu. K'detayu. Shoyalim v'dorshim be'ilchos ha-pesach kodem ha-pesach shloshim yom. So you have to start learning the Hilchos Pesach 30 days prior to Pesach. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, Shtei Shabbos, 2 weeks. From Rosh Chodesh, my time in Tanakama, Shari Moshe, Oimed b'Pesach Rishon. Moshe was being told about the dinim of Pesach Rishon. Umazar la Pesach Sheni. He was already giving them information about those people are going to be Tomei. You have to do Pesach Sheni. Vayasu b'nei Yisrael sa Pesach b'moado. So the Bnei Yisrael were doing, it was Tetzvav Nisan. Uksi vayen Hashem asher yut me'elu nefesh. Then there were people who were Tomei who showed up to Moshe and said, what should we do? So he told them, you have 30 days. So you see, you're already preparing 30 days. That's the sheet of the Tanakh. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer Amar L'cha, there's no right. Since you're talking about Dvarim of Pesach, I'll fill you in on the whole sugya. But that's not necessarily a raya that you have to do it 30 days. My time, where did Rav Shimon Gamliel come up with 2 weeks? Shari Moshe Oimed Rosh HaChodesh Umazr La Pesach Shenemar HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chadoshim. Right? This is the first Parshas Bo, Parshas HaChodesh. Uksiv Dabro Kaladas Lemor Basar LaChodesh Yivichulem Ish Celebrate Sefer Lavot Celebayis. He's telling me about Korban Pesach 2 weeks later. Freak the Gemara. Mimai Deberesh Yafakor. How do you know that when it says HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodoshim that it was Rosh Chodesh? Dilma Barba B'Yarcho B'Chamisha B'Yafakor. Maybe it was the 4th day or the 5th day of Nisan. We learned it out that it was Rosh Chodesh from the following. It says, Vaydaber Shalom Moshe B'Bar Sinai B'Shna Shenis. This is in Sefer Bamidbar, where they're going to be told to make a census, to count. Vaydaber Shalom Moshe B'Bar Sinai B'Shna Shenis B'Chodesh HaRishon. We'll see in a minute that there's going to be a raya that this B'Chodesh HaRishon refers to Rosh Chodesh. We'll see where. And then it says, Vayasub Bnei Yisrael Pesach B'Moado. They were commanded about the Pesach. It's 2 weeks before Pesach. So that's Rav Shimon Gamliel's source for 2 weeks. Who says that when it says Vaydaber Shalom Moshe B'Bar Sinai B'Shana Shenis B'Chodesh HaRishon, maybe it's the 4th day of Nisan. Maybe it's the 5th day of Nisan. Maybe Barba B'Yarcho B'Chamisha B'Yarcho. So Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Asya Midbar Mi Midbar. We learn a hekesh from the 2 words. Ksivach of the Midbar Sinai. Uksivasam Vaydaber Shalom Moshe B'Midbar Sinai B'Ol Moed B'Echad LaChodesh HaSheni. Over there, is also talking about the census. There it clearly says that it was the 1st day of the Chodesh. But it's the 2nd month, Iyar, not Nisan. Malahal and Rosh Chodesh. So just like over there, Rosh Chodesh Iyar was Rosh Chodesh. Avkan, when they're talking about coming to Midbar Sinai, B'Shna Shis B'Chodesh HaRishon, is also Rosh Chodesh. Why is this out of chronology? So the first pasuk you tell me has to do with Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Then later on it's going to talk about Rosh Chodesh Nisan. What's going on? Not a problem. There are many times that the chronology in the Torah is just because something is written earlier doesn't necessarily mean that it's earlier, it could be later. And Amar of Papa Loya Marnela betraying Yoni. That's only if you're talking about 2 different subject matters. Aval Bechad in Yona, but if you're talking about one subject matter, then there is no switcheroonie. What comes first is first, what comes second is second.
Ernie, but basically, when Mitzrayim, when did the Kodesh Baruch Hu tell Bnei Israel to take the Korban Pesach? How much prior
Rosh
to
Chodesh
Pesach?
Nisan. Rosh
So that
Chodesh
was
Nisan.
so that was the same thing. Why did it?
Yeah, but
bring that as
there,
a,
there's no absolute. We know that from Chazal, but there's no absolute raya that when it says B'chodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodoshim, that it refers to that he was spoken to on Rosh Chodesh.
so we can't bring a raya from what
You
he
can't
said
bring a
when
raya from here. They have to
Mitzrayim.
bring a raya from here in Sefer Bamidbar. And now we said because the Ilo Temahachi Klalu Prat, right? Whenever you have a generality and then a detail, ain't the Klalu L'mashav Prat. The generality has to be, the detail informs what's in the generality. Now, if you're talking about one subject matter and you're telling me Ein Mugdam U'Mucha B'Torah, then who says it's a Klalu Prat? Maybe Dilma Prat to Klalu. So that's one raya the Gemara uses, that when you're in one subject matter, you have to, something that comes before is before, something that comes after is after. The Su will say the opposite, Pratu Klau. Whenever you have a format of a prat, a detail and a generality, that's a Klau Moisif ala Prat. The Klau adds to the prat. But if you're going to learn that you can switch it around, Dilma Klau Pratu. Okay? So the Gemara says, Yach, I feel betraying Yani Nami. So why do we say that we can accept Mugdam and Mocha B'Torah by two in Yonim? Maybe by two in Yonim we should also learn that which comes first is first, that which comes second is second. It'll work for those who say that a klalu prat that are physically distant ain't daninos over klalu prat. So fine. So you don't need what comes first, what comes second. Shop and lamandam are danim. Then if you have a klal here and three prokim later, you have a prat, and you're going to say it's not necessarily in order, Michael Ameimar. So afilamandam are danim, hanim lemechadin yona. Even then, you can down a klalu prat if it's in one subject matter. I will betrain yoni ain't danim and chanami. If you have a klalu prat meruchet that are involving two subject matters, you can't learn the klalu prat. Amir Amara. Haboide tzarich shivatel. That the night of Dikas Chametz, you also have, besides checking, you have to do bittul belev. Rashi says belibo, somuch lebdika miyad. Lo'omer kol chamira de'ika bebeisei adem livatel. My timer. What? Because what? You may have missed crumbs. Crumbs halo chashivi. That wouldn't be chashiv anyways. Since your house is watched and even the crumbs are watched, so chashivi, so you'll say that they are chashiv. Atanya soifei te'enim u'mishamer sadeh v'bnei anovi. Let's say in the field you have grapes and you have old figs and old soifei anovi mishamer sadeh v'bnei mikshos v'bnei midlos, or you watch your field because of pumpkins, because of zucchinis. So bisman shebalabais makbil aleim asra mishum gez v'chav v'maiser. If the balabais is careful about these, you cannot steal these things, and they're chayv v'maiser. Bisman shein balabais makbil aleim. If the balabais doesn't care, so mutar mishum gezel, everyone can come in and take it. Mutar mishum maiser. So here we're talking about the balabais cares about the pirurim. So why do you need bittul? You're going to find a nice piece of chocolate cake in the middle of Pesach. And you didn't burn it, and you didn't bittul. And not only that, because of its chashivas, you're not going to burn it. So you know what? Mevatel it, so you don't own any of it. It's not yours. Freit Gemara, why do you have to be mevatel by the time you do the bedika? When you find it, you should mevatel it. Oh, because dilma mishkachas levasar yisura. Maybe you'll find it after the Zman Yisr. After the Zman Yisr, when it's Asr Ba'achila, Asr Ba'noah, it's Hefker, it's After Ba'alma, it's not in your Rishus. Lav Rishus Kaima, V'lo Matzim Mevatel. But Mevatel means make it Hefker. It's ownerless. But you can only make something ownerless that you own. Once it's beyond the Zman Yisr, you can't be Mevatel it. Dam Rav Elazar, Shnei Dvorim Einan B'Rishus Shalodam. There are two things that really are not in your Rishus. But in order to make you chayiv asana kosu ki'ilu b'rishus, eluim, bor b'rishus harabi. For example, you go out and dig a bor in rishus harabi. Now, who owns the rishus harabi? Nobody. You don't own it. Somebody falls into the bor. Why should you be responsible? It's not yours. The Torah put it into your rishus. Ve chametz mishei shos u'lamala. And chametz from sheishos lamal, even though technically, but it's hefker. I mean, it's ownerless. It's afra ba'alma. Yet the Torah puts it in your rishus for you to be over it. If you come across it, that's why you'd be over by your rabbi matzah without bittul, without destruction. Freit the Gemara, fine. This case, Amir Marav said, "Avoidek tzar shivatel." That the night of the 14th, when you do b'dika, that's when you have to do bittul. Freit the Gemara, why? As long as you're not in the Zman Yisr yet, like we had determined, niftale ba'arba, niftale b'chamesh. Be mevatel it in either 4th hour or the 5th hour. Keeping the lav Zman Yisr. So the Gemara says, no, keeping the lav Zman Yisr, but lav Zman Biru. Since it's not the Zman Yisr yet, it's also not the time that you burn it. You'll have, you'll be lazy, or you'll decide, I don't want to be mevatel it. So therefore the Gemara tells you to be mevatel it the night before. Okay, so we said we're going to learn tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning.
All right.
Mario,
Yeah.
Shkoyach, Mario, send me the recording.
Okay.
And then Mirza Hashem, Motzei Shabbos will